Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to talk about what you need as an individual. I always have conversations. I had one today with a young lady that's going through some things. There's lots of quotes about tough times and tough people, etc. But ultimately, I think the biggest loss today that we have is the resource of community, because today everything's online. And with the increase of the friends and followers, the decrease of actual true friends that you can bear yourself to, you can lean on, I think that's being diminished by the popularity contest that is useless. Okay? So Steve Jobs once said, "My favorite things in life don't cost any money." It's really clear that the most precious resource that we all have is time. And when you think about things like that, you should think about, on average, how do you spend your time? Weekly, what do you do? How do you feel about the time that you have to yourself, and what do you do with that? These days, a lot of time is consumed on just entertainment, like video games and movies and scrolling social media, and I do all those things. I'm guilty of all that. Just as the next, reading even can take up time, and if it takes time that you should be giving to other things, you're losing out there. And one of the biggest losses I think that I miss the most because of how we do things in the last 10 to 20 years is the losses of great conversations. I mean, you don't have sit-down opportunities as much these days as you used to, where you had conversations with people that may have been older or lived in a different place, that had a different view of the world than you did. And sometimes those conversations can have a dynamic impact on your life or how you view things. So Oliver Wendell Holmes said, "A moment's insight is sometimes worth a life's experience." And that is what I'm talking about. Insight around a subject matter that someone might be better at than you, or feedback on how they saw things where you can start at a better point than what they did. And I talk about that all the time in the opportunities to grow, and wisdom specifically is picking up where other people left off. So William Ward once said, "Before you speak, listen. Before you write, think. Before you spend, earn. Before you invest, investigate. Before you criticize, wait. Before you pray, forgive. Before you quit, try. Before you retire, save. And before you die, give." So if you think from a Christian standpoint that one day you're going to be standing in front of God, and Jesus is going to look at you and say, "What did you do with the life that I gave you?" And in that, gratitude and charity are the two biggest pieces that I know I miss out on. Okay, so I'm not going to call other people out if I don't call myself out first. I'm grateful for everything I have, but I don't think about that every hour of the day. And I give charity occasionally as I see people need it, but I know I have more opportunities to give than I do. So when you think about needs, we as human beings, you think about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? But as human beings, we have certain things that we need. And so I'm taking this from a reference that I mentioned earlier. This is Tony Robbins' book, Money, and it's well spoken in here. And he says the first human need is for certainty, and the higher need for certainty, the less risk you'll be willing to tolerate. The next need is uncertainty, or variety rather. People need variety or they get bored, right? Our brains need to expand, and that variety is sometimes how we get that expansion. The third is significance, and that's a basic human need. Significance drives people to do very awful things from time to time. We talk about the 15 minutes of fame. That is one of the points I want to make there, is significance needs to be honest, and it needs to be to glorify something other than yourself. People that get hung up in the significance, the glorification of significance of themselves, become toxic and become those that we see fall from grace. And the worst case scenario would be, what you see when people do awful things to other folks, and I can mention names of warlords, etc. But at the end of the day, if your significance is around driving your popularity and not around driving a message that is greater than yourself, then you're going to miss out, because that's only a short-term situation. The next need is love and connection. It's what we all want and need most. You can see people destroy their lives because they don't do that appropriately, right? They love the wrong person and that person cheats. They love the wrong person and that person's abusive. So there should be some investigation in that. Love is an investment, right? You should make sure that you're investigating that other person to see if that's what you should truly do when it comes to love and connection. Number 5 is growth. We all need growth. You know how you feel if you're in a place where you feel like you haven't improved or been allowed to improve. That's not something you're going to be comfortable doing for a very long period of time. So what I could suggest for you around growth is that you put down some things that you want to achieve each week. And remember, it just takes small steps. Like Theodore Roosevelt said, you can eat an elephant one bite at a time. Every single step, if you take one step per day, you'll be a long way down the road a year from now. And that's the thought process, is you don't have to make all of the advancement today. You can do it over time. And if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's the other thing too. Our time is limited. It is our greatest resource. It's limited. You have so many hours that you will be here. And you know, what you do here in the time of choosing determines what you do after this life. So hopefully you'll choose that appropriately. If you haven't, or you don't know what I'm talking about there, watch more videos on this channel and it can lead you to that. But as a Christian, my thought process is I'm an eternal being just like God and the angels. So I need to do things now in this time of choosing that are impacting other people to give them a more positive performance and positive outlook for the things that are coming for them as well. So that's part of my growth. How many people do you love? How many people are you showing care for? In my mind, some of these videos are showing care for other people that I don't even know, because how would they get these messages if it weren't for me? The tonality for the majority of my channel too, I try to be positive because there's too much negative in the world and there's too many things to be positive about. For instance, today I woke up. Today I breathed in air, right? Today I was able to get up and move around. Granted, I wasn't as painless as I used to be, but the point is I still have this day to be grateful for and to give a contribution to. So tomorrow will be a better day, if not for just me, but for many others that I may be impactful for. Need number 6 is contribution. The secret to living is giving. Life is not about me, it's about we. I agree with that completely. And the more you give, the better impact you have on those around you. And the more people you impact, the more significant your life is. So it goes back to that square one significance. By doing these things that are less for yourself will give you an increased feeling of significance for doing things for others. The fastest way to feel connections and a sense of how significant your life is, a deep sense of certainty and variety, and put yourself in a state where you can give to others, is to find a way each day to appreciate more and expect less. So let me read that again. The fastest way to feel connection, a sense of significance in your life, a deep sense of certainty and variety, and put yourself in a state where you can give to others, is to find a way each day to appreciate more and expect less. The secret to wealth is gratitude. I'll agree with that. And so that came from, some of that came from money, some of that came from me. But here's another piece too. When you start your day every day, if you have guilt or if you have things that you're riddled with because you don't understand how to shuck off what you did in the past, remember, if indeed I have forgiven anything, I have forgiven that for your sakes, that one for your sakes in the presence of Christ. So 2 Corinthians 2:10 is talking about forgiveness, and it says, if indeed I have forgiven anything, I have forgiven that one for your sakes in the presence of Christ, which means if God has forgiven you, you should be forgiving others. Forgive yourself. Open yourself up to good opportunities that God has for you. You may still have to live with consequences of prior choices, but you never required You're never required, rather, by God to live with guilt, shame, or regret. Accept that your past mistakes have been put into the situation you are in, or that have put you in the situation you're in. So you're basically looking at, assessing it, and you're addressing it, and you know that. But quickly acknowledge the greater truth that your past mistakes are now forgiven by God, do not need to impact the decisions or the choices you will make in the future. So that's the best gift I can give you in this video, is to say that if you have guilt for some reason, you need to free yourself up of that. And every new year, people try to start anew in some way, shape, or form. And they have some confusion around needs. And I try to read as much as I can and share as much as I can. And I was having a discussion yesterday with a person that was talking about audiobooks versus books. I like books because I can underline things and I can come back to it and I can see what I thought on that day. And then if I decide to read that book next year again, I can go back, and as I read through it, I remember what I thought about that at the time, etc. And each time that suggests growth. Each time that suggests improvement. So each year I get better. And in reading different books, spirituality first, but then business and then consulting and other books, there's tons of things that you can look at that can help you grow and give you that intellectual integrity and expansion that you're looking for. But also you need the spiritual growth and expansion that can come from reading the Bible or your holy book, whatever that may be. But that integrity and that expansion matters, okay? Because that's where you get the fulfillment from. And you're not going to be able to get it from other people. Okay, so other people are not going to be able to have a conversation with you and impact how you feel, especially if there's been times during the year and previous years as well that you thought this person was flaky or that you couldn't trust them. Okay, so all of that happiness that has to come from within. And I think one of the worst things that we do in this life is that daily we don't look at it with a sense of gratitude, and we don't read enough quotes. One of the things I like best on YouTube is this channel where they just talk to elderly people and they ask those folks what did they regret and what they would do differently and what would they do if they could do it all over again. And it's interesting because the majority of those answers, they don't regret anything that they did. What they regret most is the things that they didn't do. So it was lost opportunity that they regretted the most. And so this is what I would challenge you with, and this was the point of this video. I hear a lot of people complaining these days, and they're complaining because they don't know how to grow. They don't know how to expand their horizons. They don't know how to do those things. So a simple suggestion would be from me to get some type of devotional where you can do a daily devotional. Because one, if you center yourself around your religious faith, and I've said on this channel many, many times, those that have some type of faith are much more resilient than those that don't. So those that believe in a higher power typically can suffer through things that other folks can't because they know there's a better day in the end, right? If you have that mindset, that's number one. But two, those needs we talked about, you do need to actively pursue and improve your performance to those needs. So you need to have some fulfillment. You need to have some sense of belonging and some sense of necessity where you know that you matter to people. And the way you do that is you have to get in touch with people more on a granular, face-to-face, personable level. There are people who have committed suicide that had millions of followers, had all the wealth in the world, and had tons of fame because they were focused on those outward impetuses more than they were focused on internal, right? They didn't forgive themselves for things that they have done because they weren't Christian. Well, if you're Christian and you know that God's going to forgive you for all that you've done, then you need to ask for that forgiveness. You need to repent, and you need to forgive those that have wronged you. If you do that, that's number one in stepping towards a place where you come in from a place of gratitude versus a place of attitude. So just want to put that out today. This is, for the new year, people talk about new year, new me. The truth of it is there's no new you. You as a person are an eternal being. And so if you focus on the things that you should be doing for growth internally and realize that you don't have to know everything and realize that forgiveness is divine and you're given that, so you should be sharing that as well. And that's part of that being generous, is to give that help where you can and forgive often and have conversations with people that will lead you to a better understanding of what it is that you need and what it is they need. So hopefully in this new year, you'll get what you need. You'll do some of these things that may be useful to you. You see, I surround myself in books And I try to stay in them regularly. I read the Bible regularly. I try to do all those things to give myself what I need. So my prayer for you this year is that you would do the same for yourself and seek out those things on your own. If you like subject matter such as this and information such as this, please please subscribe. Please share this channel with as many people as you think that need it. And hopefully we'll continue to see this grow throughout the new year. I'm Ben. Be good.